Hello and welcome to What's Next. It's the Indy NXT Oval Series here from what is now an Amazon warehouse, but we still have the speedway that once stood here. USA International Speedway in Lakeland, Florida will play host to the second round once again here for the Indy NXT Oval Series in 2026 Season 2. This time in the bright of day. Sophie, what are we in for tonight?
Well, Jacob, last season, I believe this was my broadcast debut. It was a very tricky track coming out of turn 4 and turn 2, and I think that's going to continue here because the track is warmer and it's going to be even more of a tire conservation kind of race where you need to be super cautious. As qualifying starts out here, Adam Blocker taking his qualifying laps. I even saw Blocker spinning off of 2. That's just how tricky it is on these cold Firestones. That a driver of the caliber of Adam Blocker, as he loses actually during qualifying, slaps the wall. So Blocker, his first qualifying lap not going the way that he wanted it to be I think it's going to be a very interesting race with a lot of potential mistakes, a lot of potential upsets. As currently it's JW Miller sitting on pole currently. Before being upset by Jesse Francisco with the 17.808.
Yeah, we're going to see Blocker work his second lap here after throwing the first one away off turn 2. He almost gets around off turn 2 again there. He's going to get it woed up just enough to get it into turns 3 and 4 here. Roll off the corner. We'll see where Blocker winds up. Of course, he's won the last 2 races we've had at Indy NXT Oval Series competition in Pocono and Motegi. He'll have to start from deeper in the field for qualifying here. I believe both those starts previously were from the back, but he was able to work his way through the field, kind of just given the nature of the draft-heavy nature of those tracks. But we're not going to see that play as big of a factor here as we're now on a 3/4 of a mile track here in Lakeland, Florida.
Yeah, this track is not a draft-heavy track, and it's also very difficult to pass. If you remember from last season, Jacob, the outside line is the preferred line at the beginning of the stint, but as the track evolves, you're going to see people running the bottom. So Blocker's going to have a lot of work cut out for him. He's currently sitting 11th, so he's going to have a lot of work cut out for him. It's difficult to pass here, so I'll be curious to see if he's able to make that magic work here, as opposed to on some of the bigger tracks like we saw at Motegi, like we saw at Pocono. But currently sitting on the pole is Dylan Vilashinsky, the winner of last time we were here, who started P2 on the grid because, again, that outside line was so powerful. Sitting alongside him currently is Ashton Metters with just a few thousandths off of him. And then following that is the original champion, the OG champion, Indy Kirchenbauer, sitting in third.
Yeah, a couple cars still left to finish their qualifying run. It looks like Bladen Edwards has yet to have taken to the course. Do have the Taylor Thurman fan club back in the chat. Good to see fans of Thurman turning out once again here for Indy NXT Oval competition. He currently lines up in the 8th spot in the number 16 car of 19 tonight. Be interesting to see, as I believe he's already got a win under his belt this week in the opening slot of the week on Monday night. So he'll be looking to work his way forward here, maybe catch some cars out in the opening stages on those cold tires. A little over a minute left to go here in qualifying. I believe we've got cars executing some practice laps. Let's ride outboard with Matt Taylor as he circulates the track, just trying to get a feel for his IL-15 around USA International here.
Yeah, this is such a tricky track as we see him running some of these additional laps. It's currently sitting at 10th. None of these laps will count towards his starting position. But it's good to get more experience, more seat time, especially because people like Taylor, people like Blocker, they don't main this car the way that some people like Taylor Thurman or Dylan Vilashinsky do. We see them all over the place in the IndyCar community. So this car drives very differently on ovals compared to the IndyCar.
And of course, this also... Oh, go ahead, Sophie.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Jacob.
This also isn't an oval we've seen a whole lot of in IndyCar competition. I want to say it's maybe only seen a use here or there over the rather long history that even the IR18s had on the iRacing service. So it's certainly one that, while a lot of these drivers may have experienced it in the likes of rookie street stocks, rookie legends, something maybe where they're working their way up the iRacing oval ranks, it's not one we see a whole lot once you kind of get into these open wheel cars with the likes of, say, the IndyCar. But it's one we've definitely seen a good bit of on the rest of the road to Indy. That's where we're going to kind of highlight the drivers running top to bottom here, especially that short track ace in Dylan Vilashinsky. Waiting for cars to get onto the grid shortly, and we'll run through the starting lineup for the 70-lap main event here from USA International Speedway. This track actually just received some touch-ups in the art department, so we're getting to experience those for the first time here as well. And let's start getting through the starting lineup here from USA International. And it will be Dylan Vilashinsky for Get Good Racing on the pole with a 17.208. Alongside him will be the number 2 of Ashton Metters. He'll be looking to make a strong debut here in Indy NXT Oval Series competition. Inaugural Series champ Andy Kirchenbauer will line up third alongside Jesse Francisco in the 4th spot. David Powers, reigning junior open wheel Oval Series champion, will line up in the 5th spot right behind Indy. J.W. Miller, no stranger to open wheel machines on short ovals. Of course, he's made a number of appearances in the Indy Pro throughout the likes of the TNT leagues alongside its official series when that was still around. Kevin Crotty makes another return in the 7th spot. Taylor Thurman will line up in 8th. You've got Jason Goodman back in 9th alongside Matt Taylor for I5G. Rolling on back further, you've got Giovanni Blackerby fresh off the podium from Barber last night. He'll be looking to make another solid run here from USA International. Ellis Spice will line up in the 12th spot ahead of Crash Neon and Power Slides Adam Blocker. Terry Vincent will line up 15th alongside Jamison Russell in the 16th spot. Will Dotson, Ryan A. Brown back here in Indy NXT Oval Series competition. And Bladen Edwards will round out the field. 19th car of 19 in the number 8. And we're about to get ready to go here as we've got 2 pace laps behind the pace car. We're already heading off into turn 3. Let's see where we get going here the next time around. Actually, the lights are already out on the pace car, aren't they? No, wait.
Yeah, the pace car, the lights were out, but the pace car did not pull off. That was quite bizarre there. So we got one more lap of pacing. But once again, one of the things I think we'll expect to see, it'll be tricky for Vilashinsky getting launches critical because that outside line is so powerful here in the early stages of the race when the tires aren't quite up to temperature, and kind of forcing the car to get low is a quick recipe for spinning off the corner. So, field currently under control of the generic iRacing sedan, but as that peels off on turn number 4 here in Lakeland, Florida, it'll be in the hands of the defending champion, Dylan Vilashinsky.
Yeah, and the big thing we've seen Dylan be able to do time and time again is kind of fake everybody out on the restarts, time it just right. We'll see if he can do that here from the pole. Once again, here he goes.
He does that. Yeah, he got a great jump because Ashton pulled up alongside and then had to slow up, check up a little bit to not pass the leader and get a black flag. And that's when Vilashinsky went.
Caution, yellow flag.
Yeah, oh, we're under yellow already. Let's see.
Yeah, it's Giovanni Blackerby and I believe Jason Goodman as well. Run the cameras back real quick on that one, see if we can catch exactly how those machines came to blows. We'll get the cameras closer up onto them. So we're getting off the initial start here. You see Blackerby almost run into the back of the 10 machine of Jason Goodman. And then we're heading off through turns 1 and 2 here, getting down to the end of that front straightaway. He's tucked to the inside, almost 3 wide with the likes of Crash Neon and friends to his outside. You'll then see them come off turn 2.
Yeah, so they look to have a synchronized spin there, but also I just noticed Ellis Spice is also in his own kerfuffle in turn number 1 before that even happened.
Yeah, we've got Ellis Spice. We caught him on the replay. He's got the right front tire with some issues. We'll see if we can go back a little further and see what happened to him. He's around there, so he must have gotten some contact, maybe heading off into turn 1 or 1. We'll see what happens here. Oh, he was on the outside of Neon going into turn 1, on the outside of Blackerby, gets a bit of a tap there, gets sent up into the wall, and that'll likely end his night as well. And we hadn't even made it through a first set of corners yet.
No, that all happened in the first series of corners there, and honestly, I almost missed the incident with Spice. It was only because, while focusing on seeing what happened to Blackerby, that I heard the tire screech before anything even happened. What a bizarre turn of events there. It looked like netcode contact between him and Neon, but that's just unfortunate. I believe he had some misfortune befall him in the Indy Oval fixed race just before this on P1 Broadcasting.
Yeah, of course, that race took place from another 3/4 of a mile track in the Richmond Raceway. That one, a bit more of a D shape. This one's kind of a paperclip style, if you will. Both corners relatively the same here. Not sure if there's a potential banking difference or anything otherwise here, but they look generally the same end to end. Got it. Not you chiming in the chat saying there's a reason there are tire marks there from when iRacing scanned the track. Yes, it's a common sight at this speedway to kind of see cars get washed out to the upper edges all too often here. I believe the lights are now out on the pace car, Sophie. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so the lights are out on the pace car. Jason Goodman and Ellis Spice obviously in the pit lane. There is no additional tires here, so there is no real pit starting for anyone to worry about. So we're going to see the iRacing sedan peel off and once again put the field in the hands of Dylan Vilashinsky in that number 2 Get Good Racing machine. Or sorry, number 3 Get Good Racing machine.
And here we go. He'll get the launch early in the restart zone. You kind of see it marked with the lines and the cones off turn 4 there. Here they come, working their way down through 1 and 2. We'll look back off through 3. See cars kind of funnel around back further.
Yeah, Jacob Miller had a moment there and lost a bunch of positions. We're already under yellow again.
Jamison Russell around.
Yeah, Jamison Russell, who I believe was the pole sitter at the Indy Road Race at St. Petersburg for the Indy NXT machine, and had similar misfortune befall him in turn number 1 there as well. Just looks like some minor wing damage for him. Should be able to continue, just go into the pit lane, get a new wing. Shouldn't lose a lap, but that's definitely frustrating because it's difficult to set up passes here, Jacob. That's been one of the things here. Unless there's like a pace disadvantage, really difficult to get alongside and make it stick.
Yeah, we saw him come off of turn 2 on the inside of Will Dotson to the outside. And just kind of same thing we saw with Blackerby and Jason Goodman, that pirouette off the corner, and he'll come down the pit lane to repair whatever damage he has on that IL-15. We'll kick it back to the front behind the iRacing pace car, back under yellow once again. Have yet to make it through the first set of corners cleanly for the field. See if we can get that going the next time around here. I want to quickly highlight where we're heading for the rest of the week here on P1 Broadcasting. Of course, this is not the end of the road for us. Of course, ongoing at the same time here, we've got the Area 51 IndyCar League going on from the Daytona Road Course for their 8th round of the season. Mark Murphy leading the call there. Tomorrow night, Mark will be back with the Horizon IndyCar Series from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, better known as Mo Sport for the I don't want to corporate sponsor my racetrack individuals. That'll start at 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Me and Sophie will be back tomorrow for round 6 of season 4 of the Formula Super Series from the Red Bull Ring. That'll start 8:20 p.m. Eastern time. Thursday, AMA Grand National Series from Martinsville, 8:20 p.m. Eastern time. Mark Murphy will be there for that. And then Saturday is the big show, IndyCar iRacing Series from Barber Motorsports Park, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Saturday with a chance of rain. And then Sunday, doubleheader between the Classic IndyCar Series taking on Las Vegas. That'll start at 1 p.m. Eastern time alongside the Dark Horse DW12 Series, their 5th round of Season 9 from Gateway, 8 p.m. Eastern time. That'll take us back to the start of next week where we'll be covering IndyCar Open from Texas. That'll take place 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then Indy NXT, we'll be back with Indy NXT from Suzuka, 10 p.m. Eastern time Monday. And then we're back around to the schedule for Tuesday night, which I will quickly highlight that the Indy NXT Oval Series at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time next Tuesday will be taking on the Steel Palace in Oswego Speedway. About ready to get back under green here, Sophie. Call the start.
Yep, lights are out on the pace car here. Jacobs didn't want to miss the restart. Dylan Walaschinsky's like way back, hugging that wall, trying to make sure no one can pass him on the outside, which is the only legal way you can do it before the start finish. He launches that number 3 green and black machine, takes the green flag, leading him off into turn number 1. Hopefully you can get some green flag running here, Jacob.
Yeah, we'll look back further in the field, watch off the back of J.W. Miller and that Castrol machine. Looks like the rest of the field's going to get through clean. Here's Adam Blocker working in the 9th spot. He's picked up a couple in the early stages here. So far, we've made it through a full lap this time.
Yeah, so far a full lap finally. Get some heat in those tires. Looks like Ashton Metters caught the wall there, losing second place to Indy Kirchenbauer, likely to lose third to Jesse Francisco. But he's fighting hard on the high side, the 2 machine on the outside of the 17. Jesse Francisco currently punching well above his weight. He is in the 3rd position. Dylan Walaschinsky goes purple with the 17.570. And it is Blocker watch once again, watching him climb through the field. He has already gotten around the 13 machine of Kevin Crotty, sitting in 8th after starting in the 11th spot.
Yeah, Jason Goodman's rejoined the track, but now has a black flag, so he's coming down the pit lane to serve that. Not sure if he maybe sped or exited the pit lane incorrectly. We'll get an update on that later. But the field started to spread out.
And Blocker already made short work of J.W. Miller. So he is wasting no time trying to make up for that dreadful qualifying. So currently your running order as it stands is Dylan Walaschinsky in 1st, Indy Kirchenbauer, the Prodigy, in 2nd, Jesse Francisco in 3rd, Ashton Metters after that wall contact in 4th, Taylor Thurman, the fan favorite in chat, is in 5th, followed by David Powers, Adam Blocker, the Power Slide Pro Series driver, in 7th, J.W. Miller 8th, Kevin Crotty in 9th, and Matt Taylor for I5G is sitting in 10th.
Now, wait, just caught Crotty make the pass on Miller. Miller's stuck on the high side. He's got to get down sooner rather than later, or he's going to wind up under the attack of many a car as Matt Taylor leads a train all the way down to, I believe that's going to be Giovanni Blackerby at the end of that one, running in 14th.
Yeah, Blackerby lost his wing on that first caution, but has already benefited from the rapid kind of caution afterwards to catch right back up to the field on the lead lap. Good recovery from Blackerby, as currently is Walaschinsky well out in front of the field by almost a full second over Kirchenbauer, who himself has stretched out an almost 1 second gap to Jesse Francisco. And then once again, the field's spreading out even further. It's almost it's 8/10 back to Ashton Metters. And Thurman, the closest battle on track is between Thurman in 5th and Adam Blocker in 6th. Blocker wants the position. He gets a little twitch off that second corner, troublesome turn 2. And ultimately, Blocker trying to do everything he can to get around that 16 machine.
Yeah, the fan club's referring to themselves as the Taylor Fossey. That's a pretty good play on the Ferrari Tifosi from Formula One fame. Blocker's putting a good bit of pressure on that 16 machine as they're kind of caught up behind the 17, or sorry, the 2 rather, of Ashton Metters, just ahead of them there. This is going to be the fight for the final step of the podium.
Yeah, I believe, yes, because, again, Metters looks to maybe have had some damage from that wall contact. It's just been going back as Blocker gets to the inside of Thurman. And that might be the job done. Blocker gets a little loose at the corner, loses all his momentum. He's got to set it all back up again. Further back in the pack, Matt Taylor lost position to Terry Vincent, and that has kicked Matt Taylor down to 11th. And J.W. Miller has gotten a little bit of a gap on Vincent, but it closes right back up as they enter the corners.
I'll catch myself at sight. Metters is running 4th. That's certifiably not a podium position, but they're still in a good battle inside the top 5 there. Metters, Thurman, and Blocker. So we're watching outboard with J.W. Miller holding off Terry Vincent for 9th spot here. He's got kind of the gaggle of cars working back all the way to Giovanni Blackerby, who runs 15th. Will Dotson, Bladen Edwards last couple cars on the lead lap here. 19 started, 17 remain on that lead lap as we work lap 27.
Yes, and Adam Blocker got a nose in on Taylor Thurman for the 4th spot. Blocker couldn't quite get the move done. Gets really good drive off of turn 4. Doesn't get the good drive off of turn 2. Typically is getting a little bit looser, but he runs the high line in 1. Gets right up on the gearbox, but has nowhere to go with that momentum. Blocker trying all kinds of different lines.
Yeah,
he takes a big swing down to the inside. He's alongside Thurman into the turn number 1.
Yeah, you could see high in the sky here from the blimp. Watch Blocker. Ooh.
He gets the move done.
Yeah, it looked very
Nearly
close.
Loses. Very close, not quite
Yellow
clear.
flag is out.
And he gets it done right before we go under yellow.
I believe that's going to be Crash Neon around on the backstretch.
And Jamison Russell.
Yeah, there's Crash. He's got the Ghost Energy car back out. Doesn't look like he's got damage on that IL-15, so we'll see maybe what happened to him here and if he's got a car to play with. So he's coming off, and I believe this is going to be turns 1 and 2 here. He's got Jamison Russell to the outside here. Work our way off turn 2. He's going to come up the track. Oh, slide there. Russell nowhere to go. He pops into the air. Giovanni Blackerby manages to check up in time to avoid it. And that'll do it for that incident. Front wing off for Russell. He'll likely have to come down the pit lane. He's already multiple laps down.
Yeah, he's already ejected out of the sim, Jacob, there. So it's night done for Jamison Russell. Another tough break in these broadcasted races for him. We are currently on lap number 31 of the scheduled 70, Jacob. So we're almost to halfway here. 3 cautions, not a lot of green flag running, and I think that's been a blessing here because it's not really put a lot of, they haven't really had a lot of green flag running to put a lot of strain in these Firestone tires.
No, we certainly haven't. As we'll get the cameras caught back up to present day here. Get back to the front of the field with Dylan Vilashinsky. He's been pulling that signature, getting the restarts right here as he put his car on the pole, got the initial start, managed to get ahead of Ashton Metters on the initial start. Indy Kirchenbauer's worked his way into the 2nd spot. Francisco as well. He's put up some solid performances in the past when we've seen him competing in Indy NXT, so it's good to see him back out here with a solid run so far. Be interesting to see how this shapes up, maybe if we get a longer green run, as we've got the tires in maybe a bit of a better spot. Obviously, we're going to get a bit of a reset every time we go under yellow here. Maybe click off a couple fast ones and then settle into a rhythm. We'll see where these drivers end up in about 35 some odd laps time. We'll shout out Whiplash Sim Cams. This track very fast in these machines, so you might get a little bit of whiplash. It's just how fast the camera has to kind of check around here from the USA International Speedway. They're providing the cameras for tonight's event. Feel free to check them out for any of your iRacing camera needs, whether you're a photographer or otherwise. They put on some solid stuff for you to get some quality angles around any track that you so desire.
Lights are out on the pace car. Once again, the currently pacing through turn number 2. Field will be in the hands of, once again, that black and green Get Good racing machine of Dylan Vilashinsky, followed by the prodigy Indy Kirchenbauer in the votive machine, sitting in P2, and then James Francisco, David versus Goliath here, because right behind him is Ashton Metters, the number 2 car, and then Adam Blocker, Pro Series driver. The field is in the control of Dylan Vilashinsky. We are underway. He launches. He gets a good start. Blocker looks to the high side, try and get a run on Ashton Metters. Big run for Adam Blocker. He's already on the inside of Ashton Metters into turn number 3 and 4.
Yeah, Blocker looks low. He'll clear off a turn 4. He'll let him move him up to 4th. He'll be chasing down Jesse Francisco for that bottom step of the podium now, as Kirchenbauer has held on to the back of Vilashinsky for now. We'll see if he's able to make a go of it here.
Yes, and so right now it is, if I am Jesse Francisco, David versus Goliath. That is the number 17 car. one of the lower-rated drivers in this race in terms of iRating. Currently sitting in P3, and right behind him is the number 1 machine of Adam Blocker, who competed in the INDYCAR Pro Series. So he had to use this car to qualify for it, so Adam Blocker, no slouch. David versus Goliath for P3 right now.
Yeah, that's an iRating disparity, I believe, if my napkin math is correct, of around 4,400 between these two drivers, but you can always punch well above your weight class here, and that's what makes the likes of the Indy NXT Oval Series so special. We get that competition from the pointiest of the pointy end all the way down to up-and-comers like a Jesse Francisco here. So feel free to come on out and join us here every Monday and Tuesday night here on P1 to maybe get your name up at the top here.
And he is holding his own. The gap is steady. Blocker made short work of Ashton Metters, but hasn't really gotten that kind of monster run from the high side that he's done previously. He runs high now. I wonder if that's something that anyone is paying attention to, because I don't see anyone else really using that high line to generate a massive run the way that Adam Blocker has been.
Well, I think the big thing is that's going to unstable the car a bit on the exit with just how much you're bounding the car down off the corner. You see him kind of diamond it on in, kind of cut the bulk of the track on the exit, work his way off the corner there, and it gives him a good bit of momentum as he heads down the backstretch there. I just don't know if it's enough straightaway here to close up and get alongside someone on similar pace like Jesse Francisco ahead of him here.
Yeah, and that's kind of the tricky thing about it. We see that he gets a good run off the corner, but he just doesn't get there enough. And so he sets up high here, diamonding off that corner again, getting a good run, but it's just not enough to get close enough. It's eat a little bit closer, but not quite enough as he maybe gets a little bit on. He's getting alongside now. Jesse Francisco runs the high line, hangs tough. He's hanging tough there on the high line, ahead of Blocker that lap. And perhaps it's just a case of you need to be on the high line to pass somebody, because he holds tough and holds on to third. Excellent driving from Jesse Francisco.
Yeah, Blocker's going to use an even higher lane through 3 and 4 to build that momentum up the front straightaway here. Working lap 46. Only a handful to go here as we're working into the final third. Blocker, bit of a bobble off of turn 2 there. He's pushing as hard as he possibly can in that IL-15.
Yes, I'm sure he is frustrated with those incidents in qualifying, because that really put him on the back foot here, and he is trying to find any way by that number 17 machine.
I'm going to give a shout-out to Bladen Edwards. We caught him maybe running towards the tail end of the lead lap here. He's capitalized on that most recent yellow and worked his way up to the 12th spot. He's going to be right behind the likes of Ryan A. Brown, a previous race winner in this series, so he's certainly putting in a solid run in that 8 car tonight.
As he has a bobble off the corner right as we about to commentate, because I was going to say, Jacob, he admitted over voice chat, this is his very first start in the car.
Well, it's not a bad spot to debut. He's up against some stiff cars behind him with the likes of Matt Taylor, Giovanni Blackerby, Crash Neon, Jason Goodman. Those are all cars that have had great results in Indy NXT competition so far, or the likes of the IndyCar as well. So he's not putting in a slouch of a performance himself. We'll catch back up to that battle for the 3rd spot between Francisco and Blocker once more. Crash Neon's made the move on Giovanni Blackerby.
Yellow flag is out, and
Neon.
it looks like, yeah, Crash Neon is in the wall in a big way. Oh, look, I bet he had some help there, Jacob.
Yeah, let's see if we can get the cameras back up on it. He's missing the left side pod of that machine. The left tire's out of skew. He's on the outside of Giovanni Blackerby heading into 1 and 2 here. Going to watch them navigate off turn number 2 here. They're going to stay side by side. Neon's got a bit of a run here. Blackerby starts to wash up the track ever so slightly. We're going to watch them come off turn number 2 here. Work their way down the back straightaway. Still side by side. No contact there. Suspecting it happens maybe on the entry of turn 3. So we work our way towards it. Here they come. You're going to see, ooh. Yeah, they get right alongside each other. Blackerby right front to kind of the middle of the side pod on Neon's machine. That's going to send Neon up into the outside wall. I don't know if it didn't look like there was any sort of wheel movement from either car, aside from just trying to turn into the corner there. So just tough break for Crash Neon in another wreck tonight.
Yeah, tough break for Crash Neon there. It's really difficult when you're trying to run the high line because you're really needing to turn in, and if the car on the low line just doesn't turn in when you need them to turn in or when they expect them to turn in, that's something that's just very easy to have happen, Jacob. And that kind of resets the field. We have roughly going to be starting back to green with about 15 laps to go. Resets the field, gives a little bit of a reprieve for Jesse Francisco, chance to catch his breath after the relentless assault from Adam Blocker, and it gives our P2 runner of Indy Kirchenbauer a chance to maybe try and set something up on Dylan Wilashinski, but Wilashinski was holding a very steady gap to Indy during that last green flag run.
Yeah, and I think that's ultimately just the advantage of the clean air, getting that restart jump, building up a little bit of a buffer just to be able to kind of pull away and think about just clicking the laps off here. I think the biggest opportunity any car is going to get to pass at this point is being able to get that jump on the restart, pick the right lane, and get alongside, maybe down the backstretch to make a move. It's just a very, very tight window to get it all right and piece it together, and we'll see if anybody can do it, especially at the pointy end of the field here as we've kind of settled into a bit of a rhythm in the closing stages here. Taylor Thurman's holding on to the 6th place spot. We'll shout out David Powers in 7th. There's David right there, the number 6 car. Kevin Crotty runs in 8th. J.W. Miller holds on to 9th ahead of Terry Vincent. Ryan Brown runs in 11th ahead of Bladen Edwards, who's making their Indy NXT debut period here tonight. Matt Taylor runs in 13th. Giovanni Blackerby, fresh off that podium from Barber last night, in 14th. And Will Dotson will be the last car on the lead lap here. Hop back to the front of the field. That iRacing pace car not in the shot. Dylan Wilashinski well behind it, getting ready to go here for one more restart.
Yes, he is currently controlling the field. He launches before the restart zone. Takes the green flag, gets a good jump on Kirchbauer. Blocker has the inside on Francisco, but Francisco gets a good drive off the corner. Blocker has to slot in behind him. Again, excellent driving from that 17 machine to hold off perennial fast guy Adam Blocker.
Yeah, Blocker ran the high lane in 3 and 4 to try to build that momentum up. He'll cut down off of 2 there again. Big bobble off of 2 for Adam Blocker.
Yeah, I wonder if all that dirty air is starting to affect those Firestone tires maybe a little bit, and also just cutting in up and down the track like that, maybe putting an additional strain on his tires that other people just haven't had to do, as again, he gets loose off of 2.
Yeah, and Ashton Meadows kind of looms behind him in that 2 machine to maybe capitalize on if there's a significant mistake from Blocker, put him back in the range to make a pass. We'll see how that transpires as we're left with 12 to go here. As Meadows, big slide off the corner there, has to cut down, back up onto the track. Thurman into spitting distance.
Yeah, I was going to say he almost fell into the clutches of Taylor Thurman. Thurman looking to get that last spot in the top 5 from Ashton Meadows.
Now let's give a shout out to that number 16 machine of Taylor Thurman. He's held a steady wheel all night long. You look at kind of where he started tonight. He started 8th, was running high as 5th. He sits 6th ahead of David Powers just behind him there. See if he can hang on to a nice run here, punching well above his own weight class here in that 16 machine.
Yes, and once again, Adam Blocker back on the gearbox of Jesse Francisco, looking for any way by that gray and red machine of Jesse Francisco is Adam Blocker in that number 1 car.
Here they come down the front straightaway. Blocker, sizable run, heading off into turns 1 and 2 here. He'll cut down low, try to get a bit of that wing out in the clean air. See that slight snap off turn 2 there. Gonna run real nice and high in 3 and 4 here.
Yeah, trying to get that momentum once again. He's a little bit far away. Adam Blocker, interestingly, works for the Ganassi Indy NXT program, so he has real-life experience with the cars. Oh, he gets loose off the corner! Has a check up massively, loses the position to Ashton Metters.
The yellow flag is
And
out.
the yellow flag is out. What is the yellow flag out for, Jacob?
Well, Blocker managed to catch that car with the wheel skills that he has. Not sure. Jason Goodman is back on the track, many laps down. Not sure if maybe can we get a run back and see if maybe Jason Goodman was involved in this most recent one? It would have been him or Blackerby, I think.
Yes, I think there was someone maybe sliding. I think I saw a car sideways, Jacob, besides Adam Blocker. Yes, it was Will Dotson who had a spin off of 2, Jacob.
Let's see if we can find Dotson's spin here real quickly. We caught the end of it there. Let's see if we can get a little further on the tape there. So here we come through 1 and 2. Work our way off that corner there. Be heading down the back straightaway. I'm going to suspect this is where we get it. He's going to bobble, hit the wall, come down the track. It's likely going to be this next time around here. See if we can catch back up to that. So here he comes through 3 and 4 now. Work his way down the front straightaway. Then back through 1 and 2 once again. And I'm imagining this is where we're going to see kind of the telltale snap that we've seen a number of times so far tonight. He's nice and low in turn 2 here. Comes off the corner. This time he's not going to be able to catch it. Just around he goes from the outside lane into that inside wall. And that'll be night done for the driver of the 19 machine and Will Dotson. And I believe we're going to get maybe one crack at a restart here, Sophie?
Yeah, it looks like I think we're going to go to green with either 1 or 2 laps of racing. Will Dotson immediately alt F forward after that incident. Probably just pure frustration. So close to the end. It's so difficult when you put in all of that work as the lights do go out on the iRacing sedan pace car. It's just so frustrating when you put in a lot of effort, you're late in the race, and then have something happen. I think it feels worse than when it happens in the beginning, Jacob, because it feels like all the work you put in came to nothing. So, field in the hands of Dylan Vilashinsky, in very capable hands. We'll see where he launches on the restart zone. He went very early last time. Curious to see where he goes this time, Jacob.
Yeah, we'll watch him lead the field into turns 3 and 4 here. He'll launch just a little before kind of the marked zone there on the track. Back under green for just a handful of laps is Ashton Metters to the inside of Jesse Francisco. They're side by side for 3rd.
Yes, and Francisco gets a better run off the corner. Needs to be careful because, again, being on the high side is a little vulnerable. Metters doesn't get as good of a run off the corner. Throws it in as we are on the final lap here. Francisco holding on for everything he's got for that final podium slot. He looks to have cleared Metters. Looks like he is going to come home P3, but Metters gets a good run off the corner. Francisco holds on. It's Vilashinsky who won, but the real race was for 3rd place there. Excellent running. David slays Goliath with for Jesse Francisco. So Dylan Vilashinsky, your winner. Indy Kirchenbauer in P2. And Jesse Francisco, standing ovation for him in P3.
Yeah, you had 4 cars under a blanket there as Blocker and Thurman battled side by side behind them. But Dylan Vilashinsky will go basically a perfect race here. Start from pole, led all the laps. He'll burn it down here from USA International. Let's get a rundown of the finishing results here from USA International Speedway. And it will be Dylan Vilashinsky once again standing on the top step of the podium, just 0.4 of a second to Indy Kirchenbauer in 2nd. Jesse Francisco will round out the podium ahead of Ashton Metters and Adam Blocker in the top 5. Taylor Thurman, David Powers, Kevin Crotty, J.W. Miller, and Ryan Brown after starting deep in this field, worked his way into a top 10 run. We'll give him his due there as well. Terry Vincent will finish 11th ahead of debutant Bladen Edwards in 12th. Matt Taylor will finish 13th for I5G ahead of Giovanni Blackerby. Will Dotson, we saw his late race spin into the inside wall off turn 2. Jason Goodman, Crash Neon, Jamison Russell, Ellis Spice, all out due to incident this evening. And we'll have a number of drivers we'll get to talk to here about what they experienced here from USA International in a very, very action-packed race throughout the rest of the field.
Yes, we saw Adam Blocker charging through the field, ultimately came up short of the podium due to that bobble late in the race, right before that final caution. And again, we saw David Slay Goliath, and he is waiting for an interview, is Jesse Francisco in that 17 car, punching well above his weight. Great run for him.
Yeah, we'll get his vehicle up on the screen here momentarily. Actually, there it is. Get that IL-15, get the representation there. We'll get him on up here. Jesse, Jacob Collins, Sophie Connell, P1 Broadcast. You got us?
Yeah, I got you, man.
Well, we kind of cited it as David versus Goliath here, as you had to hold off both former IndyCar, or I guess, I don't know if did he requalify Sophie? Regardless, Pro Series, IndyCar Pro Series driver Adam Blocker and Ashton Metters in that 2 machine. Was certainly quite the race from you as you started near the front of the field, were able to hold on to track position all night long through kind of the early yellows and really had to duke it out those last couple laps on that final restart.
Oh, yeah, they definitely made me work for it. Yeah, Adam was quick. I mean, I saw him during qualifying. I don't think he had the greatest qualifying in the world, but you knew he was going to be up there. So it was kind of keep an eye on him as he's moving his way up. And when I saw him that he was behind me, I'm like, okay, we gotta race hard now. But no, it was fun. It was clean. It was Ashton also made me work hard. Kind of unfortunate for him. He got into the wall pretty early, but yeah, a bunch of fast guys, and it was fun to watch. Fun to race.
And it was certainly one of those things where once the race got moving, it got moving in a hurry. Kind of walk us through just navigating this track with how fast it is. Obviously, the straightaways are fairly long, so you're carrying a good bit of speed into those very tight corners. It looked like there was a number of ways you could kind of attack those things, particularly as you were trying to make passes here. Kind of walk us through what you were figuring out here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, so I was watching Adam in my rear view a lot. He would enter pretty wide and just try to cut the corner, especially when he was behind me trying to get that move done. I think the biggest issue, though, is once you got alongside, the outside was normally where you wanted to be. So unless you can get alongside on the outside in the corner, it was really tough to finish the move. But yeah, especially like as the tires wore and coming off of 2 was really sketchy for a lot of laps. Towards the end there, I almost had a spin and just getting loose. So managing your bars, making sure you stay on top of that. But no, it was a fun challenge, and it comes at you really quick with how short these laps are.
Yeah, certainly a lot to take care of both in the car and just on the steering wheel as well. You mentioned those anti-roll bars, kind of an option you get to maybe get the car in a spot where you can hold on to those tires just a little bit better in the long going. Sophie, what do you got for Jesse tonight?
Well, Jesse, obviously for the majority of the race, you had Adam Blocker doing everything in his power to get by you. I was curious, did you watch in your mirror some of the lines he was running? Do you think about changing up what you were doing, maybe to try and negate some of those runs he was getting off the corner?
Yeah, there were a couple times where I saw him enter as wide as he did, and I knew that he was going to try to get the run off the corner. So kind of going into the corner, I would try to, run the second lane and just to try to mitigate some of that. I don't think I could have run the line that he was running as well as he was. So just kind of knowing what I can do, what I'm not able to do as well as he can. So, yeah, definitely changed my lineup, entering a little bit higher, maybe cutting down later. Just stuff like that to kind of, if he does get a run, it's not going to be big enough that he can do anything with it.
Well, you were certainly able to hold on in the end, especially given kind of the four-way battle we saw in the closing couple of laps following that restart. Friends, family, sponsors, Jesse, anybody you'd like to shout out, floor is yours.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for putting this on. You put on a good broadcast. I got some friends that may or may not be watching this, so shout out to them. But yeah, thanks to all you guys.
And certainly thank you for joining us here for the Indy NXT Oval Series from USA. We'll hopefully catch you next week as we take on a unique, tricky track in its own right in the Oswego Speedway.
Yeah, it'll be fresh. I haven't run that track before, so kind of have to learn it.
Certainly one to learn. We'll hopefully catch you there, Jesse. Have a good one. Go celebrate.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
That'll do it for Jesse Francisco. We'll bring up hopefully a decently well-elated Indy Kirchenbauer for second spot. Indy, Jacob Collins, Sophie Connell, P1 Broadcasting. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, I know we talked a good bit pre-race, is that you were putting in the practice, putting in the work to try to do everything you could to beat Dylan Vilashinsky this week. You put it on the inside of the second row here and were able to work your way up to second. Kind of walk us through what might have been a little bit more you needed here tonight.
Yeah, I just suck at USA. Still a decent result. It's a big SOF, so these are going to be very important races, and I knew based on the SOF from last season, it's going to be a important race. Because this is one of the races where I think Dylan won last season, and I got wrecked, so I knew it was going to be important, so I did actually put more than 20 minutes of practice this time. And I did a race last night, which I usually don't do. I won that one, but yeah, at least second, that's good points, but Dylan getting more than me, I know it's going to be us too, so yeah, I hopefully be able to do one spot better at Oswego.
Yeah, obviously, I'm very much looking forward to that one, as you are as well. Kind of walk us through maybe some of the challenges that came with this race, just finding where you could get the car around. We saw a number of drivers struggle, particularly off turn number 2 on colder tires. Just kind of snap, especially running the inside lane of the track here. Kind of walk us through maybe how you were mitigating that very dramatic snap oversteer through the corner there.
Yeah, it's mainly just in 1 and 2 because the wind is 22 miles per hour to the west, so it's pushing you through the center of turn 1 and 2, and then it's pushing it against you in 3 and 4, giving you tons of grip in 3 and 4, and then 1 and 2, you have to give it a lot more wheel, lift a lot more. So yeah, but it's just I've never really been good here, so I know Oswego or Oswego is usually a better track for me, so I'll definitely be up for it next week.
Yeah, certainly going to be a big change of pace. That track relatively flat, obviously having kind of an iconic bump on the exit of turn 4. Definitely a shift from the higher banks here in USA. Sophie, you got anything for Indy tonight?
Well, Indy, you made it around Ashton due to the bobble there. Were you at any point trying to think of any way you could close the gap to Dylan, especially after all those restarts? He seemed to get a good jump on you. Was there anything you were trying and see if you could close the gap at all?
Well, yeah, that's all you're thinking about when you're in second. I was trying. It's just with him having the clean air and me having the dirty air, it's really difficult to pull in. I was able to get fast on him some laps, and then at least whenever my spotter said the leader's running, whatever, and then sometimes he would be faster. We were super close, and it kind of just hovered in between the 0.5 to 0.7 range the entire green flag run, because if you get closer, the dirty air gets way worse for some reason. But yeah, it's just I just need to qualify a little bit better. I think any of those top 5 drivers at the end, if they would have qualified pole, they would have probably won the race. So I just need to qualify better and definitely do Oswego, and that will be a slightly lower SOF race. So if you're watching at home and if it goes single split, you might be able to get on P1.
Well, we'll certainly take some free advertising from a podium finish here in the Indy NXT Oval Series. Indy, you know the drill, though. Friends, family, sponsors, floor is yours.
I'd like to thank BG Marine Associates, Bayside Comfort Heating and Cooling, Make Something on YouTube. Thank you for putting on the broadcast. Thank you to Votive Racing. We did pretty good in the IndyCar SOF, but I made the wrong call at the end. Then like to thank you for putting on the broadcast, and I will be here for the next few and hopefully do one spot better.
Certainly looking forward to more appearances from you in the Indy NXT Oval Series. Second place tonight. We'll catch you next time, Indy. Go celebrate.
Yep, we'll do.
That'll do it for P2 Indy Kirchenbauer. We'll bring up Dylan Vilashinsky once again. Dylan, you've returned to the top step of the podium. It's been a little while since you've won a Indy NXT Oval race. I'm actually looking at the spreadsheet I've got here. Oh, goodness. We've got a long streak here. We have to go back to Lucas Oil of last season, I believe. That was week 7. So it's been a bit of a minute since you've top stepped here, but once again, kind of the lights to flag performance we're used to seeing from you. Walk us through maybe how you nailed qualifying here so well.
I'm not really sure how I nailed qualifying, because the first thing came out of my mouth when I crossed the finish line was like, oh man, I underdrove that. But I guess everybody else underdrove it more than I did.
Well, certainly smooth is fast. Obviously, you may not have encountered a lot of the issues that a number of drivers did behind you as you got the perfect launch on the initial start and were able to kind of nail each and every restart after that. We kind of talked with Indy about how a number of drivers were having a bit of difficulty off turn 2 here, just kind of with the way the wind was blowing. We actually were unaware that the wind was blowing quite that dramatically on the first couple corners here tonight. Kind of walk us through maybe the difference between each end of the track here, kind of given that wind difference.
It makes 3 of us about not knowing about the wind. I thought it was all about the tire rubber. I thought that whole race, you go through 1 and 2, and you'd see that giant patch of rubber all going towards the exit, and I thought that was just rubber being laid down from people spinning the tires coming off the corner. So every time you go through there, your entry would be fine. You'd be good through the middle, and then it would just start to wash out on you as soon as you got to that big patch of rubber. But we weren't getting that in 3 and 4, so you could get in there real deep and power off with no problem. So 1 and 2 is always the sketchiest each time, because you're just trying your best, to try. I was trying to stay below the rubber on exit as best as I could, just to keep the front end turning and get a better launch.
It might have been a bit of both with that wind and the rubber. Obviously, kind of getting into the marbly stuff. Never the greatest in this machine at all, and definitely not on these very tight corners here at USA International. Sophie, you got anything for Dylan tonight?
Well, Dylan, a lot of restarts tonight. Was there any logic to kind of when you were launching? It seemed like you were launching as early as possible. Is it just because of the needed downforce to get through 1 and 2?
No, I was just trying to mix it up a little bit each time, because one of the races I had done earlier in the week, I think I was racing Thurman. On one of the restarts, I was able to get up and get alongside him going into one of the corners. I wasn't able to complete that pass, but I was remembering that on each restart. I was like, I got to try and get as good of a launch over Indy, so that way he doesn't have a chance to get to my outside, because I felt like if he could get to my outside, he might have been able to get around me. So just each restart, I would try in a different spot to try and, trick him up, so that way he couldn't get that run up on me.
Well, obviously that experience paid off, keeping those thoughts in the back of your head. Played a factor in getting you to the win here tonight, Dylan. You know the drill. Friends, family, sponsors, anybody you'd like to shout out, floor is yours.
Yeah, as usual, shout out to the Get Good Racing School, and shout out to Sprint Car Cup. 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern is every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday are the Strength of Field races.
Well, thank you for joining us here once again, Dylan. You'll be very familiar in the track coming up next week, I'm sure, in the likes of Oswego Speedway. We'll hopefully catch you there for another great race.
Yeah, I think these are going to be a lot of fun there. I'm looking forward to it.
As are we. We'll catch you there. Go celebrate.
Yep, y'all have a good one.
And that'll do it for race winner Dylan Vilashinsky, back on the top step once again. And Sophie, we are going to be in for an absolute treat as we take on the Oswego Speedway for the first time in Indy NXT Oval Series competition next week.
Yes, I look forward to it. That track is legendary in the Northeast short track community, particularly in the modifieds. So it'll be very interesting to see how a different sort of open wheel oval car takes on the Steel Palace.
Yeah, of course, we don't have the super modified just yet. Supposedly it's on the way at some point in time. But we've got kind of the closest thing in these open wheel purpose-built machines that take on ovals. So we'll smack on the highest rung on the development ladder towards IndyCar onto a Northeastern Classic. That'll, of course, be next week. Same bat time, same bat channel here on P1 Broadcasting for the Indy NXT Oval Series. Want to thank everybody for tuning in to the coverage of Round 2 of Season 2 2026 here in the Indy NXT Oval Series competition. We'll thank those that really make it possible, first responders, military, all those around the world doing the very difficult jobs that they do. We thank you very, very much, and we will catch you next time here in Indy NXT competition, whether that be from the likes of Suzuka or that Oswego Speedway next week or later on in the season. Have a good night, everybody. We'll catch you next time.